A tactical FBI team storms a suspected arms warehouse, expecting low-level cartel muscle. But when they breach the main room, every agent stops cold. Among crates of military-grade weapons stands Assistant Director Marcus Kane, one of the Bureau's most powerful men. His weapon isn't raised. His expression is empty. "You weren't supposed to see this," he says. That's the moment everything changes. The warehouse looked abandoned, weather-beaten steel walls, boarded windows, and a chain-link gate half hanging off rusted hinges. But the data didn't lie. Satellite heat signatures, anomalous radio traffic, movement detected inside at irregular intervals. This wasn't a dead building. It was breathing. Special Agent Derek Shaw sat in the back of a Leeds UV, vest tight against his chest, rifle locked and loaded. His eyes locked on the tactical screen showing body heat blurs moving behind the walls. 5 targets. Maybe more. "Go quiet until breach," Shaw murmured into his mic. "No mistakes." They moved like phantoms. 8 agents, boots silent on gravel. 1 secured the perimeter. 2 swept the loading dock. Shaw and the entry team stacked on the west door. It had been welded shut and re-welded 3 times over. Someone wanted this place sealed from the inside. Breacher called it in. Below in 3, 2. The explosion punched through silence. Steel peeled like paper, smoke erupting outward. Shaw led the charge. Inside was darkness and dust. His rifle scanned right, left. Nothing moved. The room smelled like oil and concrete. Crates lined the walls. No markings. Industrial pallets wrapped in tarp sat like sleeping animals in the dark. One by one, agents cleared the outer rooms empty. No suspects, no contacts. Then Shaw noticed something. Infrared cameras. Mounted at angles too clean to be amateur. Someone had surveillance running live in a place that wasn't supposed to exist. He motioned for the team to regroup and move deeper. The inner chamber had a reinforced steel door, coated, sealed, freshly painted. No dust. This part of the warehouse wasn't decades old. It was alive. Riley hacked the panel. It clicked. The door slid open. What they saw inside made half the team freeze. Bright lights lit up a clean, climate-controlled storage room. Walls stacked with crates labeled in Cyrillic. Rifles, missile tubes, tactical drones. Nothing the average gang could afford. Every weapon was accounted for, categorized, sealed. And in the center of it all, standing calmly behind a stainless steel desk, was Assistant Director Marcus Kane. He didn't flinch, didn't draw, just stood there, arms crossed, as if they'd interrupted a meeting. "Kane," Shaw barked. "What the hell are you doing here?" Kane's eyes swept the agents. "Put your guns down." No one moved. Shaw's grip tightened. "You're not supposed to be here. This is a black site linked to Zeta's syndicate movements. We've got full federal authority." Kane slowly raised his hands. Not in surrender. More like disappointment. "You weren't supposed to find this," he said, voice flat. "This was supposed to stay buried." Riley moved to cuff him. Kane didn't resist. But as the metal clicked around his wrists, he leaned toward Shaw and said, just loud enough to be heard, "You have no idea what you've just opened." Shaw stared into his eyes. There was no panic. No fear. Just a weight behind the stare, like Kane had been waiting for this moment, maybe even wanted it. As agents began to search the crates, Riley pulled a small case from under a tarp. "Sir," he said to Shaw, "you need to see this." Inside the case was a black USB drive. No labels. Just a strip of red tape on one side, marked with a single word, Athena. Shaw turned back to Kane, who was now sitting silently on the steel bench, wrists cuffed behind his back. "Start talking," Shaw said. Kane didn't move. "You don't understand." "Not yet. But you will." From outside, the whine of helicopters began to echo. Reinforcements. Media would follow. This operation was about to go public. But Shaw had a sick feeling in his gut. This wasn't just an arms bust. It was the beginning of something buried deep inside the Bureau, something rotting from within. And Marcus Kane might be the key to all of it. Assistant Director Marcus Kane sat on the steel bench, cuffs biting into his wrists, eyes fixed on a spot that didn't exist. Derek watched him through the two-way mirror. The interrogation room buzzed with silence. It was the kind of silence Derek hated most, the kind that meant something deeper had cracked open, and no one was ready to say it out loud. The USB drive, labeled Athena, was already being cloned in the Bureau's secure digital forensics lab. Derek hadn't told anyone what Kane whispered to him during the transport. They'll come for you. The ones who built this. He didn't believe in ghost conspiracies. But Kane wasn't a lunatic. He was one of the most respected senior officers in Washington. Decorated. Trusted. A mentor to hundreds. And he'd been standing inside a black market weapons vault, guarding it like he owned the place. Derek paced. Internal Affairs was already in the building. Someone high up had pulled strings fast. Too fast. A sharp knock at the glass broke his thoughts. Riley stepped in, holding a tablet. His face said everything. They scrubbed his access, Riley said. Every file, every clearance log. The system doesn't even show him as active staff anymore. Derek blinked. He was in the warehouse 2 hours ago. They're erasing him, Riley said. Like he never existed. Derek stormed into the interrogation room. Kane didn't move. What the hell is Athena? Derek asked. Kane glanced up, tired. You really want to know? Derek slammed the chair down across from him and sat. I watched good men die because someone upstairs kept letting guns walk. You've got crates of Russian RPGs and biometric drones sitting under Bureau silence. I want to know. Kane leaned in, voice low. Athena was a project that started after September 11th. Unauthorized, off-books, classified above top secret. Its purpose was simple: strategic infiltration of domestic threats, cartels, militias, foreign arms. No oversight. Unlimited funding. Whose project? Joint Command. CIA and FBI. Until the CIA pulled out. And you stayed in. Kane smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. They made sure the weapons got into the right hands. Controlled chaos. We let a few cells arm up, then take them down when politically convenient. Numbers go up, budgets get approved. Derek felt the nausea rise. You're telling me the Bureau helped traffic weapons? Not the Bureau, Kane said. People inside it. People like me. People who believe the system didn't move fast enough. We created our own. Before Derek could reply, Riley burst in. We decrypted part of the drive. Kane wasn't lying. Images spilled across the tablet screen, confidential memos, tracking logs, back-channel conversations. A list of code-named drop points. One file showed a recent delivery of arms marked for a cartel splinter group operating in Arizona. Timestamped just days before. Why blow it now? Derek asked Kane. Kane stared blankly. Because someone turned it into a business. Athena was supposed to be precision, not profit. They started selling to bidders. Highest wins. Derek left the room in silence. His mind raced. He remembered last month when 2 trucks full of illegal rifles vanished in Utah, and the report was sealed. He remembered the cold cases, the closed leads, the frustrated field agents. None of it was random. As he walked back to his desk, he found a sealed envelope with his name on it. No one admitted to placing it there. Inside was a photo. A man in an FBI windbreaker shaking hands with an arms dealer Derek had been chasing for years, Nikolai Vasco. And behind them, blurred but unmistakable, stood Deputy Director Ellis Monroe. Derek's blood turned cold. Marcus Kane wasn't the end of this. He was just the first to crack. And if Monroe was involved, this wasn't corruption. It was treason buried in a suit and tie. Derek deleted the photo from the Bureau servers and transferred it to a personal encrypted drive. No paper trail. Not yet. He wasn't ready to trust anyone anymore. Derek drove through DC traffic with his phone powered off and the Bureau's encrypted laptop humming beside him in the passenger seat. The building didn't feel safe anymore. Not after the photo. Not after Internal Affairs suddenly shut down the interrogation and transferred Marcus Kane to undisclosed secure facility. No charges. No report. Just gone. He'd seen this before. Silent removal meant protection. Not justice. The Athena drive contains something deeper. Files buried in fragmented metadata. Strings of code referencing other vaults. Digital black holes labeled in bureaucratic language. But it wasn't just names or dates that disturbed Derek. It was one file titled Echo Redline Authorized Extensions that referenced overseas operations, payments to unnamed contractors, and unregistered bureau accounts. The laptop camera suddenly blinked red. Derek slammed it shut and yanked the battery. Someone was watching. He drove south until the skyline faded, pulled off the interstate, and took back roads for 2 hours until the address Kane had scribbled on a napkin came into view. A farmhouse, half-rotted, leaning into a forgotten hill. A man stepped out from the shadows before Derek even parked. Bald, scar down one cheek, denim jacket zipped tight. "You're late," the man said. Derek recognized him immediately. Jonah Rourke, ex-FBI analyst, disappeared 5 years ago after testifying about internal corruption tied to foreign intelligence leaks. No one heard from him again. "Didn't think you were still breathing," Derek said. "That's the point." Inside, the walls were covered in paper. Notebooks, maps, red string. It looked like madness, but the details were surgical. Shipment routes, bank transfers, black market serial numbers filed against real bureau, seizure logs. "You think this goes to Monroe?" Derek asked. Rourke poured black coffee into chipped mugs. "It goes through him. He's not the brain. He's the gatekeeper. He signs what others push in front of him. Then who's behind Athena?" Rourke tossed a flash drive on the table. "There were 2 original creators. One is dead. The other, he's retired. Off-grid. But if Kane turned, maybe he's ready to talk too." Derek pocketed the drive. "Names. I'll give you one," Rourke said. "Colonel Wyatt Brenner. Used to be Joint Special Projects under Defense. Disappeared from DC 3 years ago. No retirement file. No pension trail. And you think he's connected?" Rourke tapped a manila folder. Inside were drone photos of a compound in Nevada. Guard towers. Satellite dishes. Military-grade fencing. No insignia. Brenner runs that. If Athena lives anywhere, it's there. Derek stood. "I'm going. You won't make it past the dirt road." "I don't care." Rourke slid another envelope across the table. "Take this too, in case you don't come back." Derek opened it. Inside was a sealed confession from Kane. Handwritten. Dated months ago. He'd been planning to flip all along. Rourke watched him from the shadows. "You sure you still trust the badge?" Derek didn't answer. He was already walking out the door. By the time he reached his car, his burner phone buzzed. A number with no ID. He answered. A voice spoke low, calculated. "You're getting too close. Walk away, Agent Shaw." He didn't speak. The voice continued. "You leak anything from that drive, and you won't just lose your job. You'll vanish." Then the call ended. Derek stood by the roadside, cold air curling around him, silence pressing in like cement. He slid the SIM card out of the phone and crushed it beneath his boot. Then he started driving west. Whatever Athena was, it wasn't just a mission gone wrong. It was a cancer wrapped in classified ink. And if he didn't cut it out, someone else would bury him before he could speak again. The Nevada desert stretched endlessly, a silent graveyard of broken stone and heat-hardened earth. Derek drove without music, windows up, sweat soaking through his collar despite the AC. The GPS had gone dead hours ago, but the old map Rourke gave him pointed to a single road, unmarked, barely visible, curling into the hills like a scar. He reached the fence just after sundown. Steel posts wrapped in coils of wire, cameras watching from every angle. No signs, no logos, just a gate and 2 black SUVs parked behind it. He shut off the engine and stepped out, hands visible. A voice boomed through a hidden speaker. "Identify. Special Agent Derek Shaw. I'm not here for a warrant. I'm here for Brenner." Long silence. Then the gate opened. 2 armed men approached, both dressed in desert tan with no visible rank. One scanned Derek's ID, the other checked him for wires. No one spoke until they led him into the main building. The walls inside were thick concrete, hallways sterile and empty. Deep underground, behind a vault-style door, they stopped. Inside the room sat a man in his 60s. Muscular frame. Crew, cut. Eyes sharp as glass. No insignia, no rank. Just presence. Brenner. He gestured to the seat across from him like he'd been waiting. "I figured someone would show up eventually," he said. Derek kept his voice even. "You helped design Athena." "I did more than design it," Brenner said. "I gave it purpose. Derek pulled out the photo of Monroe with the arms dealer. Is this your purpose? Feeding weapons to cartels. Brenner barely looked at it. That wasn't part of the plan. But parasites always grow in shadows, especially when the lights are turned off long enough. Then turn them back on. Brenner smiled, cold and slow. Do you know what happens when a program like Athena collapses? Operations get exposed, allies burned, enemies weaponized. You think the Bureau will survive that? Derek leaned forward. I don't care if the Bureau survives. I care if people stop dying in backroom deals signed with American signatures. Brenner studied him, then slid a folder across the table. Inside were names: congressmen, foreign diplomats, FBI leadership, military contractors, each linked to Athena-funded transfers, each protected by multiple layers of clearance. They buried it so deep, you'd need a full-blown leak to the press just to crack the topsoil. Then that's what I'll do. Brenner laughed once bitter. Go ahead. Leak it. And watch the agents you still trust get caught in the blowback. Before Derek could respond, alarms blared through the hallway. The guards outside shouted, radios crackling. Then the power went out. Red emergency lights flickered on, casting the hallway in shadows. One of Brenner's men rushed in. Sir, we're breached. East perimeter. Armed. Derek grabbed his weapon. Ooh, no idea. But they knew how to find us. Brenner stood calmly, unshaken. They're here for you, Agent Shaw. You were the risk they didn't account for. Gunfire erupted down the corridor. The compound shook. Brenner looked at Derek. You still want to play hero? Derek chambered around. Not a hero. Just not dying quiet. They moved together through the smoke-filled halls, the compound now a war zone. Derek took down two masked intruders in tactical gear. These weren't cartel. They were professionals, former military, maybe CIA black contractors. Silent, clean, brutal. He followed the retreat path Brenner showed him, old tunnel cut through rock, leading a mile out into the cliffs. They emerged into night, breathing dust, blood on Derek's arm, sweat burning into his eyes. Far below, the compound burned. Brenner collapsed near a boulder, in the side. Derek tried to lift him. Brenner held up a flash drive soaked in blood. Everything. Take it. Don't let them erase this. Derek took it and ran. As he climbed into his vehicle, a black drone buzzed high above, but it didn't fire. It hovered, watching, recording. The message was clear. They knew he had it. They were letting him go. For now. But the war wasn't over. It had just stepped into daylight. Derek didn't sleep. He drove through the night, blood dried into his sleeve, eyes locked forward as if the road itself might vanish if he blinked. The flash drive Brenner gave him was clutched in his fist like a weapon. Every few hours, he pulled over just long enough to make another encrypted copy, hidden in online vaults, buried in non-indexed clouds, mailed to safekeeping drop points Rourke had prearranged. He wasn't just protecting evidence. He was protecting the last truth that hadn't been buried. By the time he reached D.C., the Bureau building stood like a monument of silence. No sirens, no alarms. But Derek felt the eyes before he even stepped through the doors. He walked in wearing a civilian jacket. No badge, no weapon. Just a copy of the drive in his front pocket and the weight of everything he knew pressing down on his spine. Inside, the hallways looked the same. Coffee cups, laughter behind glass, agents nodding. But the silence behind those stairs had changed. He could feel it. They knew. And they were waiting to see what he'd do next. Riley met him outside the elevator. You shouldn't be here. I need 10 minutes. You don't have one. Internal Affairs already has your file open. Then make sure you're not near me when this goes down. Derek took the stairs, 2 at a time. His pulse wasn't fast anymore. Just steady, focused. When he entered the 5th floor conference room, Deputy Director Ellis Monroe stood at the head of the table, briefing 3 senior agents. They turned when Derek walked in. Monroe didn't flinch. I expected you yesterday, he said. Derek tossed the flash drive on the table. You want to bury it? Go ahead. But there are 4 more copies, and each one has a dead man switch set to detonate if I vanish. One agent reached for it. Monroe raised his hand. What do you want? I want the program shut down. I want every name burned into those files put under oath. And I want Kane transferred to federal custody where the press can see him walk in. Monroe's jaw tightened. You're asking for fire, Agent Shaw. I'm not asking, Derek said. I'm lighting it. Silence filled the room. Monroe exhaled through his nose, turned to the others, and dismissed them. When the door shut, he faced Derek fully. You think this will fix the system? It won't. Someone else will pick it up. Some other name. Other agents. That's the machine. Derek's voice was low. Then I'll keep breaking it piece by piece. You won't survive it. I already shouldn't have. The next day, the press conference broke every major network. Footage of crates. Leaked memos. Redacted reports that still showed enough. Monroe stood beside the director, denying knowledge, vowing internal reform. Kane appeared in shackles, face unreadable, eyes forward. Derek watched it all from a motel room 2 states away. The Bureau didn't issue a suspension. It didn't have to. His badge was never returned. His name was quietly wiped from the active roster. He became what Kane once was, ghosted from the system, but carrying a weight no one else could shoulder. Rourke called once. You made a dent. It's not enough. It never is. But it's something. Derek looked out the window. The world kept turning. People laughing in the parking lot. A couple arguing over fries. Life continuing. And deep inside the machine, someone else was already trying to erase the damage. He opened the laptop and pulled up the last part of the Athena folder, one marked Contingencies. A list of upcoming operations. Names he didn't recognize. A new location. It hadn't ended. It had relocated. Derek zipped the drive into a padded envelope and addressed it to a journalist he once trusted. He knew what would happen next. They'd try to silence it. Again. But this time, he wasn't alone. And he'd already made peace with how it had to end. He closed the laptop, packed his bag, and walked into the sunlight. Some wars don't have medals. Some heroes don't get parades. But someone had to fight. And Derek Shaw chose not to vanish. He chose to stay loud, even if it cost him everything.